Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. We are live here on YouTube. I am your host, Harrison Graham, and I'll tell you what, we got a special show for you guys today because it's fan-led Bears mock draft day. I told you guys this on Twitter. You can follow me at HGrahamNFL if you want to keep up with everything we're doing on the channel and everything Chicago Bears. But today, you guys make the calls on our fan-led mock draft. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, light up the chat. Shout out your city in the comments section. Let us know where you guys are watching from. Go ahead and shout out your city, and I'll get some shout-outs for you guys. By the way, live poll, it's already up. Let us know who you want to draft in round one. We'll get to that in just a second, but I'll get some shout-outs here from you guys. Blairstown, New Jersey, New Mexico from Jacob. Tamber says, hey, Harrison, what's up, Tamber? What's going on? Smokin' Jay, the classic, always. Smokin' Jay ain't going anywhere. Let's see. Harrison's house. You're at my house? It's a little nerve-wracking. Take care of my cat, please. Chicago, defensive POI. The UK, Dublin, Ireland from Alan Mack. He's a loyal watcher. South Lake Tahoe, California. I'd love to be there right now. Arlington Heights, Odine's Denmark. We got another Chicago here. James is from Charleston. Palm Coast, Florida from B. Ryan. Astro says, thanks, Harrison. Hey, I'm a man of the people. I'm a man of the people. Anderson, Indiana from Scott. Charleston from James. Lafayette, Indiana from Joshua. L2 Cloud is in the UK. Tinsley, New Jersey from Huddy's Boy. Continue to shout out your city. The goal of today's show, light up the comment section as much as possible. I told you guys, fan-led mock draft. Here's how we're going to do this. We're going to sprinkle this throughout the show. Between now and the end of the show, we'll do one pick at a time. So we're on the clock. Bears, round one, pick 20. Here are your options. Now, go vote in the live poll. That is where we will take most of our data from before we decide which guy won based on your guys' votes. But also, if you've already voted or even if you haven't, type 1 if you want Tevin Jenkins, the Oklahoma State offensive tackle. Type 2 if you want Greg Newsome, the corner out of Northwestern. Type 3 if you want Caleb Farley, the Virginia Tech defensive cornerback. Or type 4 if you want Minnesota wide receiver Rashad Bateman. Tevin Jenkins leading the way early on with 68% of the votes. Vote on the live poll. Type your answers in on this one. I get a couple of shout-outs here. Tamber says 1. Nathan says 1. F. Wu says 4. I'm seeing mostly 1s. 3 from Arrigo. We got a 1 from James. The way we'll do this is we're going to reset the live poll after we get the results of every pick. So we got a couple minutes here. Get your vote in on round 1, pick 20, and then we'll circle back and find out who ended up becoming the pick in the first round. Guys, it's a big day on the calendar, April 20th. It's Doge Day. Have you invested in Dogecoin? Are you a part of the Doge army? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Type Doge if you're a part of the army like I am. I'm invested in Doge. Guys, the stock's dipping a little bit today. Buy now. Buy while it dips. That's what financial expert James Yoder taught me. Buy low while it's dipping. Y for yes, N for no. Let us know if you have invested in Dogecoin. Let's see here. Nathan says he is not. Devo is not. Call it comedy. 40K in Doge and holding. No from Matthew. Yes for Doge from Craig. No from Edward. 10,000 from Ku Carito. Yes, I invested $100 from Josh. Q is invested. Arrigo has not. Shannon has not. Up to the God has not. Let's see. Anthony has. More people haven't, but a decent amount have. Join the Doge Army. I highly recommend it. If it dips below 30 cents, I might have to throw more in there. I'm fully invested at this point. Sean says no. Corbin says no. Brett says no. Edward says he loves the show. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. We do it for you guys. That's why we do the show. So if you've invested, type Y. If you haven't, if you think it's all a scam, type in for no. How about this one? Do you want the Bears to trade up for a quarterback? Type 1 for yes. Type 2 for no. I'll get some shout-outs on this one. Calvin says burn one for me. Hey, I'm not, I'm more invested in Doge on this day. I'll just leave it at that. Jacob says F no. Come on, Jacob. Call It Comedy says he's made $12 grand in the last week on Doge. Doge to the moon. That's all I got to say. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you want the Bears to trade up for a quarterback? Brody says 2. Master says 1. Shannon says 1. Connor says 1. James says 1. Mike says 1. Mostly 1s in here. By the way, if you're using the F word, that comment's not going to get through. I don't make the rules. That's just how it goes. Preston says Doge to the moon. Let's see. Edward says 1. Cameron says 1. Donkey says 1. Jorge says 1. Hal says 2. Daniel says 2. William says 1. Edward says 1. Tony says 1. Tim says 1. 2 from Michael. He wants Davis Mills. I do not want Davis Mills, but hey, that's all good. Get your votes in, 1 for yes or 2 for no. By the way, who is the worst player the Bears have ever drafted? Producer Jeremy doing his first live show today. He's crushing it so far. Let's give him a big round of applause. Type J in the chat for producer Jeremy. He came up with this question, and it's an interesting one. Worst player the Bears have ever drafted. I think the worst value of all time is Kevin White, right? He goes top 10 and basically never played. So I wouldn't say he's the worst player they've ever drafted, but in terms of expectation and when you're drafting and value and all that good stuff, it's got to be Kevin White, albeit it wasn't his fault. Tom's trying to yell something to me. I can't hear what he's saying. Oh, he's saying Trubisky. At least he started and won some games, right? Kevin White never even played. He played like 7 games or whatever. Cedric Benson, I firmly disagree with that. He was a good pro. I like Ced Benson. RIP, by the way. A lot of Kevin Whites coming in. Ced Benson from Chris. Michael Haynes from Prezel. Javon Wims. When did he go? I thought he was maybe undrafted. I mean, he may have been late in the draft. Let's see. Chris Williams. Mitch sucked. We had Mahomes and Watson. Yeah, we don't talk about that anymore. We've moved on. Cade McNown. Let's see. That was a bad one. Benson over Rodgers. Look, I get it. Benson wasn't the best pick, but this was still a starting level running back for several years. Roquan Smith, guys, he just had an all-pro type of season. Let's not get outlandish here. Curtis Enos, Cody Parkey, Anthony Miller. Round 2, Anthony Miller hasn't been great, but at least he's played and he's scored some touchdowns. Kevin White has basically never played, so that would have to be my vote. If you're ready for the NFL draft, like this video, give us a big thumbs up if you're ready to go. Guys, 9 days away from the draft. We made it! We're about to see how outlandish Ryan Pace gets. Like this video if you are ready for the NFL draft. Come on, we only got 45 likes. Let's pump that up to 60 plus. Like the video if you haven't already. We got over 200 people watching live, so let's get those numbers up. Like the video, then we'll get into the bulk of our show in just a second. All right, we hit 60. By the way, the results are in, and you can type whichever one you voted for. 1 for Jenkins, 2 for Newsom, 3 for Farley, 4 for Rashad Bateman. I'm being told, and based on the live poll, Tevin Jenkins is the pick for the Chicago Bears. Tevin Jenkins. So you can type 1 if you voted for Tevin Jenkins. So here's what's going to happen now. The way we're going to do this from now on is executive producer Sam, he's going to end the poll, the current poll, and then he's going to keep going through the mock draft simulator, and he will have our second round options later on in the show. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate everybody who voted on round 1. Stay tuned for our round 2 picks coming up shortly. Tevin Jenkins, the pick in the first round at number 20 overall. Producer Sam will get that ready behind the scenes, and we will go to round 2 later on in the show. All right, here's what's coming up on Chicago Bears now. We got the latest Chicago Bears rumors and news. Fan-led mock draft sprinkled in throughout the show. Like I said, round 2 coming your way in just a few minutes. Some live Q&A as well, so make sure you guys are using hashtag Bears, or you can super chat in the comment section. We ready to go, guys? Producer Jeremy, Producer Sam, we ready to rock on this side of things? Hashtag Bears to get your questions in, and we'll do some super chats to get to those as well. I'll get a couple more shout outs. Corbin typed 1, Milo typed 1, Daryl typed 1, Anthony typed 1, Breakin as well. All right. Hashtag Bears or super chat. We'll get to your questions later on, but coming up first, the latest Bears rumors and news. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham. Let's go ahead and jump into the latest Bears rumors when it comes to the NFL draft. Guys, the draft is just 9 days away. And could the Bears trade up for a quarterback? That is what everybody wants to know. They're going to try to. I think they're going to try. I'll go 3 smoking Jays that they're trying to trade up for a quarterback. This one comes from John Clayton. I think they're trying to. I think they want to get higher in the draft to make a move for a quarterback. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. That doesn't mean it's 3 smoking Jays that they'll for sure be able to, but that they're trying to, yeah, 3 smoking Jays. They're looking to move up in the draft. 3 smoking Jays, by the way, that means it's pretty likely that they're trying to do so. 5 quarterbacks expected to go top 10 or top 15, depending on if Mac Jones or Fields or Lance, if one of these guys falls. And the reason I think it's 3 smoking Jays is the Bears aggressively pursued Russell Wilson. Now that ship has all but sailed, well, who's to say they're not going to be aggressive in the draft? We've seen Pace do it before. Here's what John Clayton had to say, because he's the one who recently brought this up. Add Chicago to the number of teams trying to trade up for one of the 5 first-round quarterbacks in the NFL draft. Andy Dalton is the Bears starter. Nick Foles is on their roster, but Chicago is looking to get their quarterback of the future. I think Matt Nagy wants his guy. I really do. I think Matt Nagy has been this head coach for over 3 years now, and he has yet to handpick his own quarterback. I know he had some influence on trading for Foles, but he clearly knew when that happened that Trubisky was going to get one final chance last year, and that didn't work out. And remember, Matt Nagy didn't draft Trubisky. He was still on the Chiefs staff when that move was made by Ryan Pace. Matt Nagy wants his guy, and that guy is not Andy Dalton, at least not long term. So I think there's a pretty decent chance they're going to try and trade up. Do you want the Bears to trade up for a quarterback? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get your votes in on this one. If you want the Bears to trade up for a QB, type Y. If you don't want the Bears to trade up for a QB, go ahead and type your N for no. If you want the Bears to trade up for a quarterback, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. And as we talk about this a little bit more, I know that Ian Rappaport has talked about this recently as well. You factor in another team that could look to trade down. The Miami Dolphins reportedly could move down from the number 6 pick. Remember, they moved down from number 3 to number 6. Here's what Rapp had to say. The Dolphins have already made 2 moves in the draft, and they may not be done yet. Sources say they've received calls from teams looking to trade up to number 6, and it is something they're considering. A lot of things in play, but Miami could be back at it again. Trading down, or the Bears could absolutely trade up because teams are willing to trade down. We know the Falcons are taking calls to trade down from number 4. Now the Dolphins apparently are willing to trade down from number 6. I think Carolina at 8 is a prime trade down candidate. With Sam Darnold now their quarterback, they could be looking to move down. There will be opportunities, I believe, to at least get on the phone with some of these teams and say, hey, what's the cost? What are you charging for the number 6, number 8, number 4 pick? There will be options if the Bears are willing to get on the phone and pull the trigger. Just a matter of what the value ends up being at the end of the day. Now, obviously, you look at the top prospects here, and the top 2 guys are all but gone. Trevor Lawrence is going to Jacksonville. I'll say it's 99% chance Zach Wilson goes to the Jets. Maybe that 1% is still out there, but I think it's unlikely. That leaves Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones. What do we know? One of those 3 guys will go number 3 to San Francisco. Unclear which guy yet. Mac Jones has gotten the most talk there, but that started to slow down. So you can start thinking about the draft order. Okay, number 4 pick, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, or Mac Jones. Is Atlanta going to draft a quarterback there? Are they going to trade down? Are they going to draft Kyle Pitts? The Bears will have an opportunity to move up, especially if Atlanta keeps that pick and doesn't draft a quarterback. So yeah, I think there's a really good chance that they're trying to trade up for a quarterback. Now, will they? We'll just have to wait and see what happens at the end of the day. Pick a quarterback prospect. Type JF for Justin Fields. Type TL for Trey Lance. Type MJ for Mac Jones. If the Bears trade up, which of these 3 guys would you like to see Chicago trade for? JF for Justin Fields. TL for Trey Lance. MJ for Mac Jones. Get your votes in on this one. I think the Bears are going to try to trade up. Let me know which guy you'd like to see Chicago trade up for. Now, if you love the NFL, and especially the NFL draft, Chat Sports is the place for you. We'll have live coverage of all 7 rounds and all 260 picks, whatever it is, at the link below, youtube.com/chatsportstv. If you're watching live, that link will be in the live chat. It'll also be in the description of this video and a whole lot more. Subscribe to Chat Sports, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Don't miss any of our draft coverage because, hey, we've crushed it the last few years. You don't want to miss it. We'll be live for all 7 rounds of the NFL draft, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Let's go to round 2, pick number 52 of our fan-led mock draft. We've got a few votes in the poll. If you haven't voted, this is your time to do so. We'll give you, 30 seconds, guys? 30 seconds to vote in here, then we'll figure out who wins. Terrace Marshall Jr., Type 1. Also vote in the live poll. That's where most of our data is going to come from. Type 2, if you want Kelvin Joseph, the corner out of Kentucky. Type 3, if you want Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida. Type 4, if you want Ronnie Perkins, the edge out of Oklahoma. Remember, offensive tackle Tevin Jenkins was the pick in round 1. So we're not going to go tackle here in round 2. Tevin Jenkins, round 1. Now we're on the clock here in round 2. It's close. We got about 10 seconds here. Terrace Marshall and Kadarius Toney going back and forth as you guys apparently want a receiver. So get your final votes in. We got about 5 seconds here. 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm being told Kadarius Toney is the pick here in round 2. I love this value for Toney. Round 2, pick number 52, Kadarius Toney. Remember, executive producer Sam is going to end the live poll now. He'll continue with the mock draft simulator. Round 3 options coming up later on in the show, so stay tuned. Tevin Jenkins in round 1, Kadarius Toney round 2. Round 3 coming up later on. Some Chicago Bears rumors by Chat Sports around Allen Robinson. Could the star wide receiver hold out this year? I'm going to give it 2 Smoking Jays. I definitely think it's possible. 50-50 chance, I would say. And Bleacher Report ranked Robinson as the number 1 player in the NFL most likely to hold out this season. And why, right? If you've been under a rock or don't know the story for whatever reason, he wanted a new contract for well over a year, didn't get it, got franchise tagged by Ryan Pace, great move by him, and hinted back in February in a sit-down interview he did with Tyler Dunn that he could hold out. He'd be willing to potentially do that in training camp and, hell, maybe even on into the regular season. And I'll just say it now, I think there's a very good chance A-Rob at least skips training camp. Now, I don't know if he's the type of guy that'll sit out games and he's willing to go that far because he does have a franchise tag number of $18 million this year. That's a lot of money to start sacrificing. Didn't work out super well for Le'Veon Bell a few years back, but he could certainly go that route if he wants to. Look, he has a right to be frustrated. His past 2 years, this has been one of the premier wide receivers in the National Football League. Consistency has been the name of the game for Allen Robinson, and he's done it with bad offense and bad quarterback play. So he's frustrated. I think him holding out is definitely a possibility and something you guys should embrace for because I definitely think it's a real option. Now, hopefully, he's ready to go week 1 and he plays because this depth chart looks a whole lot different if Allen Robinson is not a part of it. At that point, you're talking about Darnell Mooney, maybe Anthony Miller if he's still here, although I'm not convinced that'll happen. You got guys like Marquise Goodwin in the fold now, probably a draft pick, but still overall not looking too good overall if Robinson either opts out or gets traded or whatever, holds out, I should say, Hopefully he's ready to go. I've told you guys for months he should have gotten the Amari Cooper contract. Should have gotten $20 million per year. I think they're similar ilk there. They're like 1B type of receivers, right? They're not the DeAndre Hopkins of the world, the Julio Jones, but they're right there with Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper, right at $20 million a year. That's what Allen Robinson is worth. I think that's about what he would have wanted, and instead he got franchise tagged on a 1-year deal for about $18 million. So we'll see what happens long term. We'll see if he holds out before this upcoming season. Just be prepared. It's very much a possibility that the Bears' number 1 receiver does not report to training camp, but we'll have to wait and see. What will Allen Robinson do if you had to predict it? Type H for holdout, type R for report. I think he'll hold out at least for some of training camp. Remember, the Bears have until mid-July to give him a long-term contract before he's locked into the tag, so maybe that happens. But get your votes in, H for holdout or R for report. Subscribe to us here at Chicago Bears Now. We mentioned that Chat Sports is going to be live during the entire NFL draft. We'll also be live at times during the NFL draft as well for some Bears-specific draft coverage. So hit that big red button and subscribe. Don't miss any of our coverage during the NFL draft, but also don't just miss any of our daily videos because we're having a whole lot of fun here on Chicago Bears Now. The link's down below. It's youtube.com/BearsNow. Don't miss any of our coverage. That link will be in the comments. It'll be in the description. Go ahead and subscribe today. Round 3, pick number 83 as we progress through our Bears fan-led mock draft. I got to read a couple of notes behind the scenes. Get your votes in on Josh Myers, Paulson Adebo, Kyle Trask, and Dylan Moses right now. By the way, I'm being told Kellen Mond off the board when we got to round 3. So for you Mond truthers, he's not an option. Did get another quarterback in there, though, in Kyle Trask. So keep that in mind as well. Let's see here. Taking a look here at a couple of things here. Like I said, Kellen Mond no longer on the board. Not sure if Davis Mills was still out there. I'm more of a Trask guy, so I like him as a better option. Mills still there, so he might be there. Well, he won't be there because the Bears don't have a fourth-round pick. But Josh Myers, Paulson Adebo, Kyle Trask. Get about 10 seconds here. Dylan Moses there as well. Seems like a pretty much a runaway here. Are we good to call it here, guys, for Kyle Trask? Kyle Trask, Florida quarterback in round 3, which I don't hate that value. I think in round 3 that's a pretty good pick there. Pair him with his former teammate in Kadarius Toney. No fourth-round pick, so next time you guys are voting, it'll be for round 5 later on in the show. So 3 picks so far. Offensive tackle Tevin Jenkins, wide receiver Kadarius Toney, quarterback Kyle Trask. Round 5 coming up here in just a few minutes. Orlando Brown trade rumors just won't go away, and they're heating back up because the draft is almost here, and it makes sense for Baltimore to trade him before the NFL draft if they are going to trade him. Sports Illustrated had an article recently that the trade talks could heat back up, and there's some teams that have shown some interest, and apparently the Bears are one of those teams who have shown some interest. The draft is obviously 9-10 days away here on April 29th. I'll give this one Smokin' Jay, though, as far as the Bears are concerned. I just think they have to hang on to that their first-round pick in case they trade up for a quarterback, in case a quarterback falls or whatever. You can't afford to lose number 20 overall, and I don't think the Ravens will take anything less than a first for Orlando Brown. Some of the other teams mentioned along with the Bears that have shown some interest, the Indianapolis Colts, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that makes a lot of sense, quite frankly. Los Angeles Chargers, the Minnesota Vikings, another team as well. But as far as the Bears go, I just don't think they're going to do it. Unless they can trade for him without giving up their first-round pick, I don't think you can afford to do that if you're Pace and Nagy. You've got to see if this draft plays out to your favor and you're able to move up for a quarterback. Now, maybe you don't trade up for a quarterback, and on draft night, right before you pick at 20, you trade that pick to Baltimore. That could happen, but prior to the draft, I just don't think you can afford to do that if you are the Chicago Bears. So don't think it'll happen. One Smokin' Jay. It's possible, but pretty unlikely. Would you trade the number 20 pick for Orlando Brown? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'd have to exhaust all my quarterback options first. That is what I'm saying. So get your votes in, 1 for yes or 2 for no. And you obviously look at the offensive line here. If you plugged him in at left tackle, which is what he wants to play, you could either kick Charles Leno to right tackle, or better yet, you could just cut him and save like $7 million and then roll with a combination of Jermaine Ifedi and Alex Bars at right tackle, whichever wins the job there. And you can go to a battle with that offensive line. At that point, you are at least having a above average offensive line, I'd say, with Whitehair, Mustipher, and Daniels in the middle there, and Orlando Brown at left tackle. Good player entering the final year of his rookie contract, so you're going to have to pay him the bag after this year. That's something else you have to factor in as well when it comes to Orlando Brown. So we'll have to wait and see about this one. I'm not dismissing it. I just think you need to keep that first-round pick just in case you end up drafting a quarterback or trading up for one in the NFL draft. Maybe it's a post-draft trade. Who the heck knows when it comes to Orlando Brown. It's mailbag time, at least it's about to be here in just a second. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. Round 5 options are already already on the board or on the live poll now, so go ahead and get your votes in on that one. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. We'll get to your questions in just a few moments, and we'll talk about this 5th-round pick as well as we continue with our Bears fan-led mock draft. Round 5, guys. Round 5. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. Let's see here. Here we go. Here are some of the options. Producers got it together there. Shaka Toney, the defensive end out of Penn State. You can type 1 for him or just vote for him in the live chat. Trey Hill, the offensive line out of Georgia. Charles Snowden, the linebacker out of Virginia. And then Zach McPherson, the cornerback out of Texas Tech. Any notable guys off the board here? Like, was Jamie Newman hanging around or anything like that at this point? Executive producer Sam's checking out the mock. Jamie Newman on the board, but you already took Kyle Trask, so you don't need another quarterback. A couple of offensive linemen already went. A lot of people voting for Zach McPherson, Texas Tech corner, which you do need a corner if you are Chicago. Tom, is he more of a nickel? Or is he an outside guy? I'm getting a finger up from Tom here, so I'm trying to figure out what that means. Not the middle finger, don't worry here. A couple more moments to vote on this one. 46% of you guys rolling with McPherson. We'll give you all 10 seconds here, and then we'll go ahead and get into our mailbag. Nickel corner. He's a nickel guy, which, hey, you lost Buster Screen, and Duke Shelley's just, he's all right. So maybe you get some competition in there. I'm being told Zach McPherson is the pick, cornerback out of Texas Tech. So Tevin Jenkins, Kadarius Toney, Kyle Trask, Zach McPherson, your first 4 picks. Remember, 4 6th-round picks, so we'll hit all of those coming up later on in the show. But Zach McPherson, the pick in round 5. Welcome into Bears Now. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Give me a follow on Twitter. It's at HGrahamNFL for more Chicago Bears updates. And, of course, it's mailbag time, so use hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. Producer Jeremy will get those up as soon as possible. Johnny Sprints first up here. Which quarterback would you trade up for? Trey Lance or Justin Fields? This is a good question. I think Fields could play right away easier than Lance. So if you're looking for someone to play right away, I'd say Justin Fields, who has put 2 good years of really good tape together at Ohio State. But then on the other hand, you've got Trey Lance, who maybe you could sit him for a year behind Andy Dalton. He could learn from Dalton and maybe Nick Foles if he's still on the roster, and some would say that Lance has more raw physical talent than Justin Fields, so kind of pick your flavor there. Lance is maybe the more high ceiling guy, but Fields maybe the more now ready guy, but end of the day, I like both these prospects. This is a great quarterback draft class, so I don't think you can go wrong either way. Pick a prospect for me. JFTL, who do you want for Chicago if they were to trade up? Type JF for Justin Fields, type TL for Trey Lance. I'm down with either. Go ahead and get your votes in on Chicago Bears Now. Cam Sullivan, what are you doing if the Bears take Mond at 20 and then Mills at 52? First of all, there's no chance they take quarterbacks with both of their first 2 picks, but let's just say they do. What do you guys think? What behind the scenes crew? What should I do if the Bears take Kellen Mond at 20 and then Davis Mills at 52? Do I just pour soda on my head during the draft? I don't know. It's going to be a meltdown. You don't want to miss it. That's why you should subscribe. AKA Chicago, do you trust Ryan Pace to trade up? If we had another GM, I'd be glad to. With Pace, not so much. Look, obviously the Trubisky thing did not work out. You had 2 Hall of Fame talents in that draft at quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, and you took Mitch Trubisky. But if he trades up and it's Justin Fields or Trey Lance, I mean, they're both good options. Now, if it's Mac Jones and Trey Lance or Mac Jones and Justin Fields and he takes Mac Jones, then you're like, oh, classic Pace move again. So, I have no problem with trading up for Mac Jones, but don't draft him if the other guys are on the board. That's all I'm saying. Look, there's reason to be hesitant, but if opportunity's there, he's trying to save his job, it's very much a possibility. If Mac Jones slips to 13 or 14, this is from Kio Canito, let me know how to pronounce that. Do you trade up? I think beyond the top 10, I'm comfortable trading up for Mac Jones. I don't think I would do it in the top 10, but who knows? If you love him, if he's there at 8 or 9, maybe I'm not opposed. But yeah, 13 or 14, I think that's good value for Mac Jones. JP the God, should we sign Casey Hayward or Steven Nelson? Oh gosh, Hayward or Steven Nelson. I think I'd go Casey Hayward, even though he's getting a little bit older. I think he's got that nickel outside corner hybrid ability there. So I'd probably say Casey Hayward, but you guys can vote on it as well, Hayward or Nelson. Our fan-led mock draft continues. Round 6, pick number 204. It's 204, by the way. Ignore the 164 on the poll. No big deal. Coyote Awasika, the offensive tackle from Buffalo. I'm sure I butchered that. Kerry Vincent, the corner out of LSU. Riley Cole, the linebacker out of South Alabama. And then Joshua Kando, the edge out of Florida State. So we'll get your votes in. Type 1, Type 2, Type 3, Type 4. Vote on the live poll as well, as you guys have been. AKA Chicago says 1. Shannon says 3. Scott says 2. By the way, if you super chatted, we'll get to those momentarily. The offensive tackle out of Buffalo has the lead. Awasika, 37%. We got about 15 seconds here, and then we're going to have to call this one. So Type 1, Type 2, Type 3, Type 4. Baz Lynch says 4. Michael says 3. Carlos says 1. Let's see. Aaron says 1. And that's the vote. I'm being told Coyote Awasika, I'm going to have to get a pronunciation on that from Tom Downey after the show. The offensive tackle from Buffalo is the selection. So appreciate you guys voting in. We got more picks coming up, so stay tuned. We got a super chat from Brian May. Draft Kellen Mond at 20 or trade back later in the first round and draft him and get that extra year. At this point, draft a QB in round 1, 2, and 3. Basically saying, surely if you take 3 of them, one of them will hit. They're not going to do that. Kellen Mond in round 1 would be a disaster. Sure, you get the 5th-year option, but you can't just draft someone because of the extra year. If he's a fringe round 1 guy, sure, but that's not Kellen Mond. He's not a round 1 prospect. He's a round 3, 4, 5 prospect, in my opinion. 3 at the highest. So I get it. He's got the physical tools. I guess at this point you could talk me into the 3rd round, but round 1, I'm not taking Kellen Mond. There's just no way. Guys, can you do me a favor and retweet my pinned tweet? We'll get it thrown into the live chat here as well. Go ahead and give me a retweet. It's just my pinned tweet right now. I got to get 20 plus retweets. That's what the bosses told me the quota was, so help me out. You can follow me on Twitter at HGramNFL. More Chicago Bears updates over there. But go ahead and retweet my pinned tweet. I'll go ahead and retweet it right now as well. Throw me a retweet, and if you retweet it, I'll give you some shout-outs later on in the show. So give it a retweet. It's in the live chat. Go ahead and do that right now. Danny Zeff, why is Kadarius Toney dropping in mock draft boards? Guys go up, they go down. I think there's some concern about how complete of a player he is. Sure, he's electric. He's good after the catch. Can he run all the routes? Probably not. I would still take him at the end of the first round probably. He's super fast. I think if he's there at 52, that's a home run if he falls that far. So we'll see if that actually happens. But I don't know. It's hard to say. It's a deep wide receiver class, so that could be why. Alan Mack, Alex Leatherwood, Dylan Radins, Liam Eichenberg, Jalen Mayfield are still on the board in the second round. Who do you go for? And you got Fields in the first at 11. So, yeah, my last mock draft, I traded up for Justin Fields. Let's just say they do something like that and you still have your second pick. Out of those 4 guys, I'd probably go Eichenberg. Probably Eichenberg 1, Radins 2, Leatherwood 3, Mayfield 4. I'm not as high on Mayfield. I think he's a little bit raw. I'm still fine with him in round 2, but if I'm ordering them, I'm going Eichenberg, Radins, Leatherwood, and then Mayfield in the second round if I trade up for a quarterback. Got another super chat from Harrison Graham's Beard. Bigger need, wide receiver or cornerback? Oh, gosh. I think it's corner. I think corner's a bigger need. As long as Allen Robinson's locked in for this year, I think it's corner. So let me know what you guys think, wide receiver or corner, but I think it's corner. Got another super, Don Bird, Detroit versus everybody, extend Pace and Nagy. Hey, we love our one residence Lions fan because he always super chats. It helps support the show. You keep super chatting, we will continue to shout you guys out. So appreciate it, Don Burr. Serbo Production, do you think we gonna just get a receiver or O-line even if a quarterback slips outside of the top 10? So you're saying if they just stay at 20? I think if they stay at 20, it'll probably be offensive line. Tevin Jenkins, Christian Darrisaw if he falls, maybe Samuel Cosme, maybe trade down. I think those are your options. Corner, I think, is a dark horse target at number 20, but other than that, I don't think there's really someone else that they could go there. Maybe a receiver, Rashad Bateman, or if one of these other dudes falls, but that would surprise me. Who is your favorite prospect in the 2021 NFL Draft? There's a lot of good ones. Y'all know me. I love me some Kyle Pitts. Bears got no chance of getting him and doesn't really make sense for them to try to get him. But Kyle Pitts would be my favorite guy. Go ahead and get your votes in. Favorite prospect in this year's draft. And while you're getting your votes in on that, subscribe to Chicago Bears Now. We are your number one place for Bears draft coverage on YouTube. We're almost at 25,000 subs. Help us get there, youtube.com/Bears Now. Draft-related videos from now until the NFL Draft, and we'll be live for a lot of the draft as well here on Chicago Bears Now. So hit that big red button and subscribe. Don't miss any of our Bears draft coverage. Ronald Jenkins, #Bears. Is there a non-quarterback you would trade up for? I don't know. Maybe if Rashawn Slater slipped a little bit, or if you wanted to move up a couple of slots to take Christian Darrisaw to get, this long-term left tackle. I think that's one other position I would consider it. I don't think I'd do it for a corner. I wouldn't do it for a receiver, I don't think, because I just think you have bigger needs there. But if Slater's there past 14 somehow, I think that would be interesting. If Darrisaw's there at like 17 and you don't know if he's going to fall to 20, maybe get ahead of Washington at 19, I think he could be an option. Other than that, I think if you're trading up, you're probably taking a big swing at a quarterback. Name a non-QB you would trade up for in round one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is there a non-quarterback that you would trade up for? If there is, type his name right now in the comment section. Go ahead and do that right now. Name a non-quarterback you guys would trade up for in the first round of the NFL Draft. I can get a couple of shout-outs here. Someone says Devontae Smith, so that would be interesting. #Bears or Super Chat. We'll get a couple of more questions here on the show. We'll go to this Super Chat here. We got Carlos next up. Appreciate the $2. Drafting Mac is basically drafting a slower Mitch. Mac Jones' accuracy is a lot better than Trubisky's accuracy. Let's just get that out of the way, number one. Yeah, he's not the athlete Trubisky is, but his accuracy and his ability to throw on time and on target, different level than Trubisky. Now, yeah, pocket's got to be cleaner typically for Mac Jones than it does for Trubisky, but don't even act like Trubisky is the pocket guy that Mac Jones is, because it's not even close. Fan-led mock draft continues. Still a few more sixth-round picks. Round 6, pick number 208 here. These are your options. Thomas Graham, great last name, cornerback out of Oregon. Joshua Kando, he fell here. Defensive end out of Florida State. Kairos Tonga, the defensive tackle out of BYU. Frank Darby. Vote on the live poll and also type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. Let us know who you guys want to draft here in round 6 at number 208. Frank Darby with the early lead, but Thomas Graham making a push. Got about 15 seconds here to get your final votes in, and then a determination will be made. Tamber says 2, Shannon says 1, Jacob says 1, Shaq says 4, Colleen says 4, Randall says 2, Jacob says 1, Michael says 2. Couple seconds here. 2 says 3. Let's see here. Michael says 2. Milo says 4. I'm being told in a close vote, Arizona State wide receiver Frank Darby, the pick in round 6, number 208. At the end of the show, we'll recap all the picks for you guys. Can't remember them all off the top of my head right now, but stay tuned. We'll recap them for you guys. Miguel, next up on our mailbag. When is it time to listen to calls for Khalil Mack? I think next offseason could be a realistic time. It just doesn't make sense right now, because if you trade him, you lose a ton of money to dead cap money. So you're not going to do it now. You restructured his contract. Maybe next offseason. I think that's realistic, especially if this team, has a new regime and is looking to rebuild. But right now, not the time. William Brack, if the Bears trade up to 11, what QB would realistically be there? Well, first of all, they would only trade up to 11 if a quarterback is there. I still gander to say that Mac Jones could slide a bit. If the Niners don't take him at 3, I think he could fall outside the top 10. Maybe Fields or Lance could fall outside of the top 10, although I think that's unlikely. But remember, if they trade up to 11, they're probably only doing it for a quarterback. Alan Mack, #Bears. Kendrick Green, good pick in the 3rd round. Haven't watched a ton of him. I'll make sure to do that, Alan, and I'll circle back to you, maybe mention it on next week's live show, but I don't want to give a fake answer. I need to watch him more, so appreciate the question. Serbo Production, is Deshaun Watson still an option to trade for? Not right now. Guys, until his legal situation clears up, if it clears up, which... who knows? Shrug emoji. He's untradeable for the Bears and for everyone else. So Texans are stuck, and that's just the reality of that situation. Jones, Frederickson, Mond, Mills, or Trask if they're all available in the 3rd. I think I go Trask, then Mond, then Mills. I like Mond's physical traits the best. I think, his decision-making is questionable at times. Trask, I think, also has questionable decision-making, but he throws with really good accuracy. His problem is he doesn't have a strong arm. Davis Mills may have the most upside of all of them, but he hasn't played a lot of football. So they all have pros, they all have cons. You guys know I'm not a big Mond guy, but I'd rather take him than Davis Mills, but I like Trask better than the other 2 guys. Give me a follow on Twitter. I'm at HGramNFL. If we didn't get to your questions, you can follow me there and send them my way. Always like engaging with you guys on social media. And remember, retweet my pinned tweet as well. And you can also give Jeremy a follow, our new producer here at Chat Sports, at JIBeadling. That's BEADLING. Follow producer Jeremy, follow myself, retweet my pinned tweet. We would greatly appreciate it here at Chicago Bears Now. So go ahead and do that when you get the chance. Super chat from Don Burr, Detroit, bring back Kevin White. I appreciate your trolling, Don Burr. I really do. Guys, y'all got to drown him out. Hey, you guys got a super chat, so we aren't forced to always put Don Burr up on the screen. I don't know what to tell you, Bears fans. Drown out Don Burr. Adam White, what do you think about Ian Book? Personally, wasn't a huge fan. His lack of size, if he's available in the 5th or 6th, would you take a stab at him? Round 6, I probably would. He's undersized. He doesn't have a strong arm. He's crafty. He's like a poor man's Trubisky, honestly. He's mobile. He can make things happen, but doesn't win in the pocket, doesn't have a strong arm. So after his first read, he tends to bail out. So sure, project type can maybe be a long-term backup. My comp for him, Chase Daniel. So there you go. Carter McDonald, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think is the actual chance the Bears trade up for a quarterback? 10 being most likely, 1 being no chance. I'll give it a 4. Close to, I think, 4 seems about right. It depends. I honestly think a lot of it depends on what happens with Atlanta at 4. If Atlanta takes a quarterback at number 4 or trades to another team that takes a quarterback, I would put it at like a 2 at that point, because then there's only one quarterback worth trading for at that point in the first round, because it's the top 5 guys. But if they take Kyle Pitts at 4, Cincinnati will probably take Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase at 5. Dolphins might trade down or take a receiver at 6. Then you got a real shot to do so. But if Atlanta takes a quarterback, probably not going to happen. Cameron Hedquist, if we get the chance to choose Trey Lance or Justin Fields, who are you choosing? We talked about this earlier. Probably Fields, but I am intrigued by Lance. I really am. I think he's really intriguing. But I would probably take Fields. 2 years of really good tape in the Big Ten. Outdueled Trevor Lawrence in the National Championship semifinal. Probably go Justin Fields. If you're ready for the NFL Draft, type me in the comments. Who's ready? I know I am. Get those me's flowing in the comments. We got another fan-led mock pick to get into in just a second. So type me. I got to hydrate here. Get the me's flowing. I'll get some shout-out shortly. Type me in the comments. I can also shout out whoever retweeted my pinned tweet. Quick reminder to do so. I got 10 retweets, shooting for 20. Steve, Christian, Q, TTV, Cartoons, Adam White, a.k.a. Chicago, and Devo Miller have all retweeted me. Go retweet my pinned tweet. Round 6, pick number 221. I'll get a couple of shout-outs on the me's. Tamber, Corbin, Baz, Jonah, Jacob, BB, Shaq, Tamber, DeBoss, Gaddy. Appreciate you guys. Let's go to our next pick here of our fan-led mock draft, 221 overall. Jonathan Cooper, a player I like, the edge out of Ohio State. I think he's good value this late in the draft. Greg Island, the guard out of Mississippi State, another player I've looked at a little bit. I think he could be a starter down the road. Elijah Griffin, the corner out of USC. And then Patrick Johnson, the defensive end out of Tulane. I'm going to have executive producer Sam tell me in my ear real quick who we've taken so far, just so I can get a fresh reminder. I know the first few rounds. We took Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle, round 1. Kadarius Toney, Florida wide receiver, round 2. Kyle Trask, quarterback, Florida, round 3. Zach McPherson, Texas Tech corner, round 5, no fourth-round pick. Coyote Awasika, offensive tackle out of Buffalo, in our first sixth-round pick. Then Frank Darby, Arizona State receiver, and now we got 2 picks left, including this one. So get your votes in. BB says 2, Mad Mike says 1, Tamber says 1, Nate says 1. Jonathan Cooper leading the way right now, but Elijah Griffin looking to make a push. I would say I think Cooper would be my pick. If that weighs in on your guys' votes, so be it. No edge rusher taken so far, so I think I would take Cooper at this point. That would be my vote, and looks like the results are in. We're going to roll with Jonathan Cooper, or you guys are. He wins this one. Edge out of Ohio State. He goes round 6, number 221 overall. One more pick to go, so stay tuned after Cooper goes here in round 6. More live Q&A coming up in just a second. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. Appreciate everybody who has super chatted already. If you haven't done so, now's your chance if you want to guarantee a chance to get on the show. Before we get into our mailbag here, subscribe to Chicago Bears Now. You see the link on screen, youtube.com/Bears Now. The only way to be a part of our live mailbags is to subscribe. So hit that big red button. Plus, NFL Draft almost here. Don't want to miss any of our Bears draft coverage. This is the time to get in. Hit that red subscribe button. Share that link with a friend. It's youtube.com/Bears Now. We'll start today's mailbag with Colleen Scott using hashtag Bears. Bleacher Report says the Panthers taking calls for 8. Any chance the Bears trade up to 8? I think teams in the top 10 that could trade down. Atlanta at 4. Miami at 6. Carolina at 8. Maybe Detroit at 7. Don't think the Broncos will trade down. I think they could trade up, actually. I think the Cowboys will probably stay at 10. I think the Panthers could trade down. I think 8 is a realistic place for Chicago to get to from the number 20 pick. So, yes, Colleen, I think it's possible. Jonah Gonzalez, what do you think is a better idea, to trade up or to trade down? If one of the quarterbacks is there, especially if it's Lance or Fields, and you don't feel like it's too much draft capital you're giving up, I'd say trade up. But if you get to 20 and there's no quarterbacks, Jenkins and Darrisaw are gone, maybe you trade down at that point. So depends on how the draft goes. Michael Kelly, Talanoa Hufanga, big hitting safety out of USC, who I like a lot. Should we take him in the 3rd? He just re-signed Tashawn Gibson. He could be a linebacker hybrid, so I like his versatility. He should be a good special teams guy. I don't hate it. I would need to know who the first 2 picks are, Michael. Who did you get in round 1 and round 2? If you got really good players, then yeah, I think in round 3 I could get on board with that. Alan Mack, best position in this position in this draft we don't need. Well, we kind of just mentioned it, safety. Now that Gibson is back, you got Eddie Jackson, you got Deion Bush. You don't really need a safety. If there's a guy you love, okay, fine. Safety might be the one area that it doesn't really make sense to take one, at least early on in the draft. After that, I would say running back. You don't need a running back. You're set there. So those are 2 positions. Timmy Tinkle's next up on the show. If J.C. Horn falls to number 20, should the Bears take him? This is an interesting one. Horn is a player who some think could be the first corner off the board. He's been rising up quickly, the South Carolina cornerback. He's got good size, 6'1", 205. He did the best job on Devontae Smith, held him to 60 yards, so that's doing something. Had 2 picks, 6 pass breakups this past year. If he's at 20, that's intriguing. I don't think he will be, but if he's there, he might be one of the exceptions where it's like, okay, this is best player available. Corner is a need, even though it's not the top need. So, yeah, I think if he's sitting there at 20, I could get on board with taking him in round 1. Would you be okay with drafting a quarterback in the first round? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I think overall I'd rather go in a different direction, but depending on who's there, if it's a clear best player available situation, or maybe it's a trade down situation, right? Trade down to 26, 27, pick up an extra second or third, draft a corner in round 1. Yeah, I could be okay with that. But get your votes in, Y for yes or in for no. Devin Macklin, do you think the Bears can really hit a home run and get Trey Lance or Justin Fields and jump from 20 to the top 10? They can. Will they? Will teams trade with them? That's the question. Again, I think Atlanta's the key with the number 4 pick. If they take Kyle Pitts, it's game on. You could trade up for a quarterback at that point, if you don't want to trade to 4 yourself, of course. The answer is yes. Will they? That's the big question. That's going to be a lot of draft capital, but if you feel good about these guys, then hey, you gotta consider it. Tamber the Lamber, what position do you think the Bears will draft in each round? I don't know. I think on round 1, ideally it's quarterback or offensive line. You get the other one in round 2, maybe, especially if it's offensive line in round 2. Round 3, corner or receiver. After that, guys, it's too hard to say. 5th and 6th round, it's more of a best player available situation. So I would say biggest needs in order are quarterback, offensive tackle, corner, wide receiver, and edge. Those are your top 5 needs. So there you go. Cameron Sullivan, who wins in a fist fight between Nick Foles and Andy Dalton? I like this question. Well, Andy Dalton's been boxing recently. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos and the photos. Nick Foles he's pretty much a statue. I think Dalton could probably pound him into the ground. Foles is big, though. He's like 6'6". So, Dalton's been training. Foles is bigger. May the best man win. Adam White, why would you trade up when you're in a win-now situation and you just signed Dalton to a 1-year deal? Seems more realistic to add weapons than to trade for an unproven quarterback. The reason you would is you still need a franchise quarterback for the future, Adam, and this is a unique draft that is loaded with 3, 4, 5 really good quarterback prospects. That's not the case next year. At least it doesn't look like that early on. So that would be why. Your other avenue for strategy-wise could be what you're saying. Take the best players that can help Andy Dalton this year and win as many games as you can, which that very much might be the case on how the Bears handle this draft. Go download the Newsbreak app at chatsports.com/BearsNB. Using that link helps support the show. Here's the deal about Newsbreak, and I'm going to pull it out right now. I'm a guy, I like knowing what's going on in my community. I read the Dallas Morning News, I read the Fort Worth Star Telegram, all the local news outlets here in the DFW Metroplex, but that's a lot of different apps and websites I have to go to. If you go to Newsbreak, it's all on one feed, so download it at chatsports.com/BearsNB. It's going to sync up with your zip code and your city, and you'll get all of the local news, more sports articles. You can also get weather updates, politics, pop culture, whatever you're into in your local communities. It's all on one feed on your phone. And bonus, Bears Now videos are also now on the Newsbreak app. All you got to do is search Bears Now by Chat Sports, and you can find those. Chatsports.com/BearsNB. You can download the Newsbreak app there. Help us out by using that link. It'll be in the comments. It'll be in the description. Chatsports.com/BearsNB. Go ahead and download it today. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. We'll answer as many as we can in just a second. But fan-led mock draft continues. Round 6, pick number 228. Final pick here, by the way, no 7th round pick. Jack Anderson, the offensive lineman out of Texas Tech. Israel, Mukuamu, corner out of South Carolina, corner safety hybrid. Briley Moore, the tight end out of Kansas State, who I believe we've talked about before. And Errol Thompson, the Mississippi State linebacker. A couple of options here. Here in round 6. Jack Anderson, the leading vote. You can type 1 for him. Briley Moore, only 14%. I don't mind adding a tight end late, so that's a little surprising. Jack Anderson leading the vote. This would be the 3rd offensive lineman, Sam, if we go with Jack Anderson here, so keep that in mind. I certainly don't hate that. Get some more depth and competition here. Got about 10 seconds here. Type 1, Type 2, Type 3, Type 4. Get your votes in the live poll as well. Errol Thompson making a late push here, but looks like it's going to be Jack Anderson. And I am being told Jack Anderson, the pick, the offensive lineman out of Texas Tech. That'll wrap up our fan-led mock draft. We'll recap the picks at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. Appreciate you guys for tuning in on that. Oh, guess who's back? Don Burr with the super chat. Detroit versus everybody. Extend Andy Dalton. I appreciate the commitment, Don. I really, really do. You Bears fans got to pick it up. You got to super chat. We guarantee supers to get on the show. Lazy Lakes. If quarterback and offensive line aren't real options at 20, should the Bears trade down? So in this scenario, top 5 QBs are gone. Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, Lance, and Jones. I'll say Tevin Jenkins and Christian Darrisaw are gone as well, including Slater and Penei Sewell. I think at that point, trading down is very much a possibility. I do think it's an option, and it may be an option already just to get more draft capital. If you want to go the route of building around Andy Dalton to try and win this year, maybe a volume draft is the best way of doing so. I don't know if that would be my approach, but you can't really predict how the draft is going to go, so I would say, yeah, trading down is very much a possibility. Would you rather trade up or trade down? Type U for up, type D for down. If it's not for a quarterback, I'd probably rather trade down. So get your votes in. Type U for trade up or type D for trade down. Muhammad, does Gregory Rousseau make sense at 20? No. Bad combine, didn't test well, didn't play in 2020. Jalen Phillips, the other Miami edge, maybe, but I would not go edge at 20. I would go different position. I think there's bigger needs. Randall Wellman, looking at who the Bears play this year, I see them winning 4 or 5 games. Your thoughts? They're way too early. Strength of schedule is like 3rd toughest in the NFL. It's going to be hard. We haven't seen the week-by-week specifics, but they have a tough schedule based on who their opponents are. So I think they're going to win more than 4 or 5. I think they can be around 500 based on who they currently have. Maybe that can jump up based on the draft. But, yeah, it's a tough schedule. There's no doubt. ND2324, are you doing an NFL draft live stream? We are going to be live for the entire NFL draft on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. Shout out producer Jeremy. He's got the link right there, youtube.com/chatsportstv. We'll get that in the description, in the comments, all that good stuff. Also, we will choose select times to go live on Chicago Bears Now. Can't say we'll be live for all 7 rounds and be live for every pick, but we will be live at times. But subscribe to our main channel, follow along what we're doing there, and we'll pick certain times to go live on Bears Now. So subscribe to both channels and don't miss it. Alan Mack, would you double dip at O-line in the 1st, 2nd round? I don't think I'd double dip. It's possible. But because this is such a loaded tackle class, maybe you could go Vera Tucker round 1, who could be more of a guard than a tackle in round 2. Or you could go center in one of those rounds. If you don't think Sam Mustipher is the answer, you could go Creed Humphrey or Landon Dickerson in round 1 or round 2. I think round 1's a little early for those guys, especially at number 20. It's possible, but I would put it at like 1 Smoking J. Pretty unlikely. Mark Sarukanian. What leftover offensive tackle free agent options would you look at? Villanueva, we should take a stab at. He'd be the one guy, I'd say. I'd have to look at the other guys. I've been so draft-focused recently. Obviously, Orlando Brown in a possible trade. But, yeah, it seems like Alejandro Villanueva is the best tackle out there. And if he's cheap, yeah, consider it. Lucky Fed 703, trade Anthony Millers and Foles together for a 5th rounder. Maybe the Eagles, Broncos, or Niners. Eagles aren't trading for Foles. They signed Joe Flacco. Miller and Foles, I don't even know if you could get a 5th for those 2 guys. I'm just being honest. Foles has basically no trade value. I'm not sure what Miller's value is. Maybe one of those teams throws you a 6th, but and I would say sure. If you can get anything for those guys, I would take it. Knowledge Untamed, what if Micah Parsons falls to 20? I think they should take him after what is TBS? Help me out here, Sam. TBS did. I don't know what that means. I wouldn't. Tampa Bay's linebackers. Okay, I got you. Yeah, they were dominant in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't rule it out. A, I don't think he'll be there at 20. B, it's just not a need. I know that'd be a best player situation potentially, but off-ball linebacker for me is like 7th biggest need. I just don't have it high on my threshold, so I'd probably have to lean no. Muhammad, does Terrace Marshall make sense at 20? I think it's a little rich for him. I like Rashad Bateman more. I could maybe pull the trigger on him at 20. If you want to go receiver in round 1, trade down. Get to like 26, 28, get in that range, get an extra pick. Take Marshall, Bateman, maybe even Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney at that point. But I think after the top 3 guys of Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle. I don't know if any of them are worth it at 20. Maybe Rashad Bateman. Cloud Life Central, best draft scenario. Atlanta sits at 4 and takes picks. Agree. Bengals take Chase at 5. Miami takes trades down with Chicago at 6. Exactly. If you want to trade up for a quarterback, you want Atlanta to keep that pick and select Kyle Pitts. That's what you're cheering for. That's the best scenario for the Bears, because then I agree with you. I think the Bengals take either Chase or Penei Sewell at 5. I don't think they'll trade down. So then, you could trade it with 6 with Miami, 8 with Carolina potentially. You got options at that point, but the draft is in Atlanta's hands right now. There's no doubt about it. Patrick Ayers, quarterback options after next year if Andy doesn't work. I mean, next year's draft is where you look to, right? Sam Howell, North Carolina, Keaton Slovis, USC, I forget the Cincinnati's, Desmond Ridder. I'm sure a guy or two will emerge. They always do. Maybe Spencer Rattler out of Oklahoma, if he declares, could be an option. It's not as strong of a quarterback class right now, but things change. These guys could ball out. Jacob Cutler, seems like a good day for a burger. McDonald's or Wendy's? Wendy's burger, McDonald's fries. I just gave you a good lunch there, Jacob. Harrison Graham's beard. Who is your favorite AFC team? Well, some of you guys probably know at Chat Sports I cover the Chiefs, just like I cover the Bears. I don't know if I have a favorite team. I like watching Mahomes play. I know that's hard to hear for Bears fans, but yeah, I would say the Chiefs are fun. Who are some other fun AFC teams? Not the Broncos, producer Sam's team. Not the Colts. I don't know. Not the Browns. No, hell no on Baker Mayfield. So yeah, there you go. Shout out your city in the live chat. We will recap the fan-led mock draft shortly. So shout out your city, and I'll get some shout-outs for you here. We just got a super chat. You and Brett getting chopped today. I don't know what that means, but appreciate that from Jacob, if we want to show that real quick, guys. Shout out your city, Chicago from Tamber, York, Pennsylvania, from Jonah, Chicago from Murph. Loves Park, Illinois. Appreciate the super. Jacob, don't really know what you're saying by that, but there you go. Baker is a GOAT. Disagree. Waverly, Kansas. York, Pennsylvania from Jonah. Louisville, Kentucky from Sean. Chippewa Falls from Christopher. Appreciate you guys for tuning in on today's show. Maybe you missed some of the picks, so let's recap who you guys selected in our fan-led mock draft recap here. Tevin Jenkins, round 1, out of Oklahoma State, the offensive tackle. Kadarius Toney, the Florida wide receiver, in round 2. Kyle Trask, the Florida quarterback, in round 3. Zach McPherson, the Texas Tech nickel corner, in round 5. Remember, no 4th-round pick. Coyote Awusika, is that close? In round 6, I'll practice that. Number 204 overall. Frank Darby, the Arizona State wide receiver, at number 208 overall. Jonathan Cooper, the Ohio State edge, at 221 overall. And then Jack Anderson, the offensive guard out of Texas Tech, number 228 overall. I think some good day 3 value picks there. So you guys did pretty well. I appreciate it. By the way, subscribe, because we're going to do an expanded video on you guys' fan-led mock draft, so be on the lookout for that. I'll dive into each of the players a little bit more, so we'll do that. That'll be on the channel probably tomorrow. And join us every Tuesday, 4 o'clock Eastern. We will still go live next Tuesday at 4, 2 days before the draft. We'll do our final Bears mock draft. We'll have some fun. YouTube.com/Bears Now. Turn on notifications so you never, ever miss a video here on Bears Now. We're going to sign off shortly. No loop today because it wouldn't make sense with the fan-led mock draft. But hey, round of applause to producer Jeremy. First, Jeremy Chugs is what we call him here at Chat Sports. Got through his first live show with a little assistance from executive producer Sam. But let's grade type J for J Chugs. Come on, let's give him a round of applause. Give him a follow on Twitter at JI Beadling. That's Beadling. Help him out. I think he's like 10 followers away from 1,200. So go ahead, give him a follow over there. Also, you can follow me at HGramNFL on Twitter. Retweet my pinned tweet. Help me out. Trying to get to 20 retweets. So go ahead and do that. We don't have his note there, but executive producer Sam at Sam Brown CS. Appreciate all of you. No loop today, but stay tuned. We will have more videos throughout the week here on Chicago Bears.